And now, ladies and gentlemen, Liberace.
This is my friend, Scott Thorson.
You were incredible out there.
Well, this must be fate. I have a great idea. Why don't you come work for me?
Hey everybody, Ben and Alonso here, a special Memorial Day edition of What the Flick, because Sunday night, last night, HBO's Behind the Candelabra with Michael Douglas and the other guy, Matt Damon. I knew it would come to me. I'm a professional. So I don't know, it was fantastic. It was so good. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I was amazed. I mean, this is a movie that they've been talking about for the last decade or so. I remember hearing, oh, Soderbergh wants to make this Liberace movie, and there were various casting things thrown around. And you know, part of you thinks, how do you even tell this story and not make it look ridiculous when the real guy was so crazily over the top and a walking cartoon? And what I think is so amazing about this is that they've succeeded in finding the human being under all the Swarovski crystals, you know. And Michael Douglas does an extraordinary job of not just capturing what Liberace probably talked like off stage, but just, you know, it's so tricky when one celebrity plays another celebrity and you sort of, it's hard to lose one and the other, but he really, I think, captured this guy, the loneliness and the sort of the terror of being found out, you know, that whole era of what it was like to be a gay man in the public eye. I think he really nailed it.
Yeah, and I think that that sometimes it's in roles like this, or even a big role like Gordon Gekko. It's funny, I was just thinking of that and not even realizing that it's Douglas. But like, I don't think that role, like in the same year that that Wall Street came out the same year as Fatal Attraction, right? I believe it did.
Around the same time.
I think they're both '87, but anyway, the same. And I thought, which is oddly, I think the year that Liberace died.
I think you're right.
And I thought Douglas gave a better performance in Fatal Attraction than Wall Street, because I think it's harder. Like, doing those over-the-top characters isn't as much of a challenge, I think. That's my sense. And here, you have like two jobs when you're doing Liberace, is finding the humanity in him, and then the over-the-top Liberace that everybody knows. And I think if there's any place where Douglas fell short, it was more in the over-the-top stuff. Like, he made him human. And I thought it was a great performance. They should give him an Emmy, and Rob Lowe needs one, and Matt Damon. They were all so incredibly good. So I was just incredibly impressed with how he sort of brought the humanity.
So you didn't think the on-stage stuff was big enough?
No, I just mean, I thought it was fine. It's just I expected that to be the part that he nailed, and that it would be difficult to find the man inside. And I thought that was great, and I think that's the tougher part anyway. So
yeah, exactly, because that's the one we don't know. That's the one we haven't seen. You know, this is based on Scott Thorson's memoir of his life with Liberace, and Damon plays Thorson from, you know, like 18 to 28 or something, like, you know. And he's 42, so that's
10 years, 77 to 80. Starts in 77 and he died in 87.
Yeah, so that's pretty impressive. You know, I think that the gay perspective on this is so fascinating, in that it's the kind of movie that you make where people now can't believe that recently that's what it was like. That you could be Liberace, for Christ's sake, and have an entire fan base that just completely doesn't compute that, you know, a grown man wearing, you know, pink fur with, you know, rhinestones or whatever else. What? No, it just hasn't met the right girl yet.
Right, everything, and in mannerisms, the way he talks, everything is so screaming, and yet there's that wonderful scene when Damon sees him for the first time, and Damon's there with Scott Bakula, who's terrific. Everybody's terrific. Yeah. Damon's been brought to the Liberace show in Vegas with Scott Bakula, and Bakula makes a statement about, what does he say exactly?
Well, he does something about him being an old queen, and an old lady turns around and like gives them a glare, and then Matt Damon says, well, I can't believe this whole crowd is enjoying something this gay. Right. And Bakula says, they don't know he's gay.
Yeah, and that look from the woman is perfect. And at the beginning, Douglas is doing his thing on the piano and getting the women to chant hey, and the women are like, ooh, yay! And
it's that we're not entirely out of that era. I won't name names, but a still popular performer, singer-songwriter with a very dedicated female fan base, you know, is as gay as the day is long, and is never ever going to come out of the closet. But, you know, I think we're at the end of that period of pop culture. I think we're now moving into
Did we just out Bruce Springsteen? Is that what happened here?
But I think that, and he's Jewish. I think we're going to be moving into ideally a more enlightened era.
Right, but even to the fact that it's obviously more enlightened because we can now, this movie, although I want you to tell the backstory of the movie, the mere fact that everyone who's seeing this movie now is in on that joke is a sign of how significantly we've developed. But this movie, it's significant that, and God bless HBO for putting up the money to air it. But Soderbergh wanted this to be a regular studio release.
For putting up the money to make it. That was the thing. Like nobody, for $23 million, which is not that expensive, it's certainly for not a movie
where you got Matt Damon and Michael Douglas.
Exactly, you've got 2 Oscar winners. You've got the most, you have a production design that has to match, the real Liberace's. That's a bargain. And no studio wanted to make this movie because it was too gay.
Yeah.
Whereas and it's now being released theatrically pretty much everywhere else in the world because it's the new Steven Soderbergh movie.
It went over really well at Cannes.
Yeah, big hit at Cannes, got great reviews, but here in the U.S. that there's still this gun-shy attitude about that material.
It's pretty gay.
It's pretty gay. I don't deny it, but I think you could still get an audience for it.
Are we still at the point where it's like we should be impressed with Douglas and Damon for their willingness to
They're
actors.
It's the job. I think we need to stop patting straight guys on the back for kissing a dude in a movie. It's like, just get over it already. You're an actor. They do it very well.
They do it well, and it's intense. It's not a stolen kiss here or there.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I still remember the TV movies about Liberace that happened right after he died in the late '80s and early '90s, and those movies there was a lot of hugging and heads on shoulders.
Right.
So this movie, it's like, okay, no, they're going for it. I total all credit due for that, no question.
I was on Twitter last night. I was following Patton Oswalt, and he said that they need to drive the Emmy over to Rob Lowe's house tonight and just present him with it, and I would agree.
Oh God, he's so good as the plastic surgeon, and of course, as a plastic surgery victim himself. Apparently, he was he got all taped up, the way the old 1940s. Female movie stars did. He said 12 hours a day of that he would give him migraines.
What, getting taped up? Why?
Just
to pull the skin?
All the crazy pulling of his face and the eyebrows and everything.
I mean, he couldn't open his eyes.
Yeah,
it was so great.
And then after Liberace gets his first face-ups, he can't close them.
He can't close them. Right?
He's sleeping with his eyes open.
Yeah, it was really. Oh my God, it was so good. Rob Lowe was so sensational in this. But Scott Bakula's great. What's the guy I was praising? The guy from 30 Rock, Cheyenne.
Cheyenne Jackson.
Jackson.
Debbie Reynolds, who you didn't recognize.
I didn't even recognize Debbie Reynolds, for crying out loud. I just spent the TCM cruise with her and I didn't recognize her. She's great as Liberace's mom, really great. And then, but Cheyenne Jackson is sort of the Liberace's onstage partner when the movie begins and is very jealous when Damon arrives on the scene. And I really think his first 3 scenes, one on stage and then one backstage and another one at the house, Cheyenne Jackson doesn't have a line.
But he's completely, exactly what he's feeling.
Oh my God, he's so good. I mean, he really steals a couple scenes without a line. I thought he was great.
Yeah, this was a movie where I think you could have really easily gone for sort of the cheap joke, the cheap, insight, and they really treat it seriously. And they present this guy who is this singularly bizarre presence in American pop culture, and they don't just go for the ha-ha. I think they really kind of, they don't pretend that he's anything he wasn't, but at the same time, I think there's a certain level of dignity that's given to the story and to the relationship.
Totally. There are moments in it where you are incredibly frustrated and angry at Liberace for being the giant douchebag that he is. Mm-hmm. And using people and dismissing people, and then you sort of ache with sympathy for him at other times.
I mean, I've seen that power dynamic, with people I know not even in romantic relationships, just in sort of friendship or business relationships with rich and powerful people. The second that you cease to be useful or entertaining or whatever, you're out, And I love the scene toward the end where they're Liberace is going to go perform on the 1981 Academy Awards or 82, and someone mentions they liked On Golden Pond, and he says, oh, it's so nice that Jane Fonda has stopped with all of her causes and is making a nice movie, and it's like that is that old school gay to a T. I'm not political. I'm not here to make trouble. I just want to come out and sing and dance.
I just want to get along. Right?
Exactly. And that tells you everything you need to know about how this guy lived his life.
And then he throws in, he's like, with the Jane Fondas and the Ed Asners of the world. I'd like to see. I want to look up. Do you know who did the production design by any chance?
I don't. It was written by Richard LaGravenese, who did a great job, and Ellen Mirolnick, I think I'm getting her name wrong, did the costumes, and those were both stunning. But yeah, apparently they worked off
Howard Cummings. I mean, it looks great, and it could have been. Again, I was reminded of it when you said that it so easily could have been cheesy and over the top, and it wasn't. I mean, Liberace is over the top, but somehow that just felt incredibly credible, everything we saw there.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, luckily, they had a lot of research material to work on. They were just recreating that craziness,
Yeah. So anyway, I really started the first 25 minutes of this thing, watching it with my girlfriend, and literally her mouth was open. Like, she was so into this. It was so good.
Yeah, it's one of the year's best films that is not playing in a theater, and more's the pity. But I'm sure it'll be on HBO a few more times, and then eventually make its way to DVD. So
we'll do numbers.
People should check it out. I give it a 9.
Yeah, I gave it a 9. No one should give it less than a 9. It's outstanding, and it's totally fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.